Hello, this is Reed Maxwell. I am the developer of Cursed Black. I have been fairly silent for a couple of years, and I'll explain why real briefly. Since the last video I've released that showed actual gameplay, this one, that's 30 minutes worth of gameplay, I have actually restarted the project. I've redone almost all scripts. I created a new project file on the software that I use. So there really hasn't been much to show because I started from scratch. Now, what I'm going to show you is what is playable right now, which isn't a lot. It's not meant to be playable by other people. It's really just the progress that I've gotten. And it's going to be highlighting the battle system. It's going to, well, I could actually show you instead of explaining it. How about that? Let me run this real quick. There's no music, there's no sound, so I figured that my voice will do to explain what's going on. And eventually, really the sound's the thing that takes the longest. Whenever I'm testing this, it has to load all the resources, so if I add sound, it makes that process a lot longer. It makes me not really want to work and test the game if I have to wait 5 minutes every time I load it. And that's my previous experience. I don't know if it'll be like that anymore because of the new engine that's a little bit faster. But this is the overworld that's being worked on right now. It's not a lot. It's really just a static screen. There's no NPCs. There's no player that can be moved around. And that's because I want to focus on the main parts of the engines in this game. And you can open up the menu right now. The Pokedex is mostly functional. It's not complete, but you can actually go see the pages of the Pokemon that you've caught. Of course, this is a fake list. It doesn't actually reflect what I've caught because I haven't caught anything. But you can actually see and not see the Pokemon that you've seen or caught. There's no area to look at yet. And there's no cries because of the lack set of sound. And these two numbers don't mean anything, the 151. They're just there for placeholder text. The Pokemon itself, I have a predetermined party here that doesn't really do anything. When you create each Pokemon, these are actual stats. They're determined with IVs and EVs, which are all 0 right now. And the moves are actually what they learn. So Ghost is the easiest one. He only has 1. Hitmonlee, these are actual stats again. So if you were to go catch level 60 Hitmonlee in the original games, these are pretty close to what the stats will look like. They're also set so you can actually get the moves that they would learn in the game based on the level that you have. So that's set for every Pokemon, which is why I picked these random Pokemon to show you, because they're actually true to the original games. Now, of course, I'm human and I did all this by myself, so I could get some stuff wrong, but for the most part, I was really careful with copying over the data from the original game, so it should be fairly close. These attacks mostly don't have animations, so I'm not really going to be able to show you much in game in the battle. They're just for displaying that you can actually switch these around and you can open them up. The pack is the inventory management that I've been working on. This is I think the first thing I worked on this rewrite, because this was the main thing that made me stop work on the other engine. It was absolute hell. I did not organize anything at all. Everything was so chaotic that I didn't even want to work on this. And by the time I got to working on this in the old engine, I just wanted to quit. I didn't want to do this anymore. So when I restarted, this is the first thing I worked on, just to really make sure I can accomplish this. Because if I can't do this, then really there's no point in trying to make the rest of the game. So I got this to work. You can actually remove potions and add potions. You can have key items. You can take them out and the list will be reflected. And this is actually working pretty similar to what it looks like in the game as far as animations go. So I'm pretty proud of that. The trainer card doesn't take much. It actually logs how long you've been playing and how much money you have, and these badges are fully functional. So once you have a badge, it'll show there. Okay, so then the battle system, which is fairly simple. The battle system already is preset to having a whole route. So when you walk around in the grass, say in Route 1, there's different levels of Pidgeys and Rattatas, and they're already added there. Every single location is already added, so I can already set it to Cerulean City, and heck, I might even do that just to show you. I can set it not city, Cerulean Cave, and it'll show you the Pokemon from Cerulean Cave. It's really cool. And this one, because I'm testing this, it's preset to always be Bulbasaur. So I'll change the route and then show you guys what I mean. But for now, it's just Bulbasaur. The scratch animation is there. There's no damage done yet, so that damage is actually calculated, but I haven't worked on the part where it reduces the HP. And that's really because it's a whole thing where once Charmander or Bulbasaur hits 0, different things happen in the game. So Bulbasaur faints, and then it gives experience to every Pokemon that I see in the battle. And then Charmander faints, and the game checks if I have more Pokemon to switch out to, which is a part I'm working on right now, switching Pokemon. And this, like I said, the damage is already calculated, and same thing for Growl. It doesn't do it yet, but I have everything set up to do it. I just have to change a single variable and make it happen, and that's it. So Growl is already preset. Like once the damage calculation is done, it actually takes into account how much your attack has increased or decreased, and every single other stat. And it also takes into account if you have badges, which, like the original game does, if you have certain badges, you get stat boost. I don't know if the recent games do that, but I know these guys did. So it takes that into account as well. And the inventory can be seen from the battle system, which is another reason I didn't want to work on it on the other game, because I would have to work on 2 different inventory systems. And that's how bad everything was set up in my old game, where I had to work on 2 different inventory systems for the battle and for the overworld, and that's just nonsensical. And the fact that I even ran into that issue just might explain to you why I didn't want to do it. So this is the exact same inventory that I had in the overworld, and you can actually, the plan is, I've set this up so once I use the potion here and in the overworld, it'll have the same effect, and maybe it'll just show different screens, because in the potion, that's kind of what makes making this game interesting, is I have to go look at the actual game and mimic what the game does, instead of just thinking, oh, I can just make it do this, because it can get a little chaotic if I just make decisions on the fly. I have to consult the actual game itself. And this also works in the game, in the battle. You can actually look at the Pokemon right now, and it's perfectly fine. You can switch out, but it's going to break. So you can only switch out in the overworld. Oops. Well, that just restarted the same battle, so give me 1 second. And another reason it took me a while to get this video out to you guys, well, main reason really was personal stuff, but another reason was that I don't have a good screen recorder. This one I'm pretty sure is going to be out of sync of what I'm actually doing, which is really unfortunate. But hopefully one of you guys can recommend me a better one. I don't like EasyBit. It's giving me so many headaches by now that I'm not a fan of it. But it does the job for now. And I'm going to show you the scripts I'm working on in just a bit. I just want to show you that you can actually see different Pokemon. It actually works to switch them out. So when you go to see the different Pokemon that are available, right now, like I said, it's just preset to Bulbasaur, but I'm going to just change that. And the database that I have is complete for all the Pokemon. See, there's the Bulbasaur we were looking at. And every route is added. So I'm just going to look at Cerulean Cave real quick. I'm going to do this one. And I just need to see the variable name, which is 71. And on doing is when I have the overworld set up, which is not even close to done. I do have all the maps drawn out, so that's going to be easy. You just want to make sure that the new overworld doesn't have the same glitches as the older engine did. And that's really the part that's going to take a while, is making sure everything's ironed out. Because I can iron out all this stuff with a battle and party and, you know, any glitches that come up with the battle system are just really easy to fix. But when it comes to the overworld, I'm not really a game developer from Like I haven't done this for a living. This is just a hobby. So it takes me a while to figure out how the overworld's going to work and what is supposed to happen and what isn't supposed to happen, just because I just don't have a lot of experience doing all that stuff. So right now, when you load up the battle, it'll show you a random Pokemon from Cerulean Cave. And that's because this part isn't really hard to do, and neither is adding all the attack names and base power and types, and neither is adding the Pokemon and their stats. That's not the hard part. The hard part is actually taking time aside every day and figuring out how this game actually works. When I was working on the damage calculations, I didn't really know how things were going to work out. I used to have a website that I would refer to when I was trying to figure out this internal stuff that you don't really see in game. Like the game's not explaining how this damage is being calculated; it just kind of does it. And that website got taken down, unfortunately. And the only one that I have, so it was this one, and it's not going to show me anything because it's down. But now the only other one I have is really this guide and game facts. So I can't get anything more accurate than this. At least not that I've found. I've had a really hard time finding stuff for Gen 1. I think a lot of the later generations are better documented than Gen 1, because by the time the internet came out, Gen 1 was already kind of irrelevant. It was all about Generation 2 or Generation 3, and it really takes a special kind of person to look back at these games and really want to document them. So I've had a hard time finding stuff, including game graphics, sounds. It's been mostly me going into the emulator and pulling out these images myself. I had to go to Lavender Town and get a grave and edit it and take away the background. Like, that's also been part of the game development, is me gathering all these resources. So really the next thing, I don't have any maps in this project, but I have them in another project. Once I import the maps, I'll be able to have the trainer move around, because I've done the database part of the Pokemon games. That's already taken care of for the most part, I think. Now it's actually the functionality. And the text box, the main text box feature of the game is already mostly done, where you can have an NPC say whatever and do whatever. I actually have a list of commands, and I forget where I put them. So, like I said, I've been working on this for the past 2 years, and I worked on this back in April, so I really don't remember top of my head where all this stuff is stored, but it is stored somewhere. I have a notebook I referred to just in case, and I've seemed to misplace it at the moment, but I already opened this one. But essentially, you have a list of commands to do if you were to edit this game on your own, which is another goal of mine. Is once Cursed Black is done, then this game will be able to be used as a base to make fan games for Generation 1 and even Generation 2, because I've added features such as the Pokemon being able to hold a gender, for them to have Pokeras, for them to have a nature. They're not really implemented yet, but it's really easy to add this stuff when really all you have to do is type in a new line of code. And I'm hoping that becomes a thing. I really want to work past Cursed Black. I by no means mean to stop working on video games when I'm done with Cursed Black, whenever that magical day is. I want to work on something for Gen 2, even if I'm 50 years old. This is going to be my hobby from now till we'll see when I get tired of it. But honestly, creating my own Pokemon game has been really fun. Not all animations are done. I have Scratch, Gust, that one's really badly done, Vine Whip, Tackle, Water Gun. These animations will show in-game, and they'll work. The next step is the overworld, as far as the next video release is concerned. But really, I'm going to keep focusing on the battle system, making sure that the Pokemon can damage themselves, that they can switch out, that you can catch them. And I'm also going to be working on whenever this unlocks, the PC aspect. You being able to store Pokemon in your PC and then pull them out or put them in wherever you want. And hopefully that won't take the longest, but that's really another reason I stopped working on the other version of this game, is the PC was going to be so elaborate, and I just had no idea how to get it started, that I didn't want to do it either. Inventory and PC is what killed the other version of the engine, and it was set to die anyway. It was just so badly done. But there you have it. That's all I've done in the past 2 years as far as this game is concerned. It's not my top priority, obviously, or else I would have done it by now. But it is something I still want to work on until I finish it. So however long that takes me, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Lost Silver came out so fast because I already had an engine done for it. But this is something I had to create from scratch several times. This is actually my fourth rewrite. So hopefully I'll be able to bust out another demo soon. It won't be anything that's expansive as the other one, but it'll be something you guys can play and take a look at, and it won't have the horrible MIDI music that the last demo did, which I know it's kind of funny to think that my old demo that's about 30 minutes long has MIDI music and I can't take it off anymore, just because I don't plan on going back and changing the files. But this one will have the actual music, and hopefully there's not as many issues as the other one had, and hopefully you guys like this version better, because I definitely do. I enjoy working on it a lot more. It's a lot easier to add these things, all these features that I've always wanted to add, and I know that I have so this software I've been using it since I was very young, and I've recently read up on shaders, and they're really something that is just going to add a lot of functionality to the game. I'm really hoping to get the Game Boy Color effect of going around towns and having the game change colors. I really hope I want to get that done, and of course, especially the gradient. I'm talking about a lot of things that I've noticed over the years working on this game, but that might not make any sense to you. But basically, I have a lot of big visions for this game, and I do apologize for not working on this sooner, because I know I would have loved to get this done a lot faster than I'm currently doing. It's just school and work and other hobbies and my personal life. It's been really hard to work on this game every day, and even every other day. I've had gaps where I don't work on it for months, and then I get just motivation all of a sudden, and I just work on it for days and days and days, and it becomes really discouraging when I work on this for a straight month and there's really not much to show for it. But it's coming along where you're starting to be able to see where I'm at. You can see the text box working, you can see the battle being started, you can see the animations, you can see the calculations, you can see the Pokemon in the party, you can take a look at their stats, you can take a look at the inventory, you can take a look at the way they're created and see that there's actually IVs being considered here, and you can see that they're random, so they're not always going to come out the same way, and you can see that every attack has been taken care of as far as how they get put in the order of the Pokemon you're about to catch. And I've I've tried to make sure this is as accurate as possible to the original games, because that's my goal. I don't want to spit out trash. I have seen a lot of bad fan games, and I don't want this to be one of them. I want this to be something that's really fun to play, and it's really close to the original. I want people to keep calling it a ROM hack, and I want them to think that I just went into the original game and just changed a few lines of code, like that's possible. Just because it really speaks to how close I've gone to the original games, and I am proud of that. So with that, I'll let you guys go, and hopefully you can see the next update.